Hi there, my name is Mariana. I'm your host, owner of Vindium Real Estate, and I'm sitting here with two of my most talented friends, my interior designer and my just general designer, Ariana, and my architect, Robert. Guys, tell me how you got where you are.
Well, I mean, it kind of starts with the heart. You have to a lot of times be born with it, and I think that's kind of my story. Is I've been designing when I was able to walk, and of course, you have education and so forth, which makes it great, and life experience, a decade plus years of being in the industry makes you the best, I would say. And what about you, Mr. Robert?
Um, Kind of similar. I had parents who would buy land and build homes upon them, and as a baby, I would be influenced by what they were doing. And I realized in life there's only a certain few things that you can change, and through architecture and interiors, we create spaces that can change people's lives, and the stories that we get to witness through it is quite rewarding.
Speaking of, you guys been here for a while, so you understand the styles of the Northwest.
Hmm.
Where do you guys see the most change have happened in how we use our spaces, and which direction are we headed?
Well, it's almost 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought as soon as 2000 would hit, that we'd have flying cars and modernism would be appreciated. Unfortunately, it was a craftsman movement, which actually is a modern movement in the 1900s. So I feel like today that we're getting closer to the future, that we should embrace it, and we should have styles that also respect our Northwest environment. So no flat roofs. Let's embrace the sun because of Germany's technology for solar.
Mm-hmm.
Incorporate those ideas, and Northwest being such a techno area, let's bring that in and influence it through what we do.
And I agree with you, Robert, that bringing in that modernism, especially with having European influence and getting the sun, especially in the Northwest. I mean, that's what we're missing, and every speck of sun is so appreciated here. So that's something that's huge, especially we're living in such a tacky place. I mean, Seattle being so great with being influenced and being the leader in so many of the technology. So to answer your question too, is yes, we're going to see more technology. The homes are going to become more smarter, not only people but also the homes and the cars and so forth. So that's kind of where the things are projecting, especially if you say, hey, what's going to happen in a decade. Having things that's on as we see, the lights already are implemented to make sure that they turn off and on, but even having everything else like solar panels, like even having everything else being aligned with that. Won't you agree, Robert?
I totally agree. I mean, you think about Expo and the 50s, the mid-century movement. They had great style, they had great vision, but they didn't have the technology that we have today. So imagine if you took a mid-century home and then just renovated it and took it to its level of where they would want to be, with flat screens everywhere and touch panels and integration through iPhone and Android. I mean, we have all that today.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we incorporate that? How we create that vision? Microsoft and its home that they created on their campus, is that day here today? I think so. So we just got to make sure that we can implement it and make sure that we're proponents of it to embrace the technology that we have today.
That is actually really encouraging to me because so many of the properties that we are still selling are older properties. And first thing we have to embrace the fact how people lived back in the days. Like if you're looking at a 100-year-old home, you can find smaller components, smaller rooms, because when you have to heat those rooms individually, it was a different story. And then we were mentioning mid-century and 50s and 60s, and I could see that like in the 60s and 70s when they started to get bigger rooms because they like to party. So it is really encouraging to me to hear that it is not that big of a challenge to to change these homes to whatever fits in today's lifestyle. And that's actually an amazing thing about designers, because you can help the homeowners to have the vision to do the remodel. Now, let's just say that people don't have that much money when they purchase something. And then they say, okay, what can we do today? How can we bring things up with the least amount of investment to cater to today's lifestyle? So let's talk about what is today's lifestyle really and it means mostly about how do we gather. We like big empty spaces. We like to bring things together, to configure any way we like with furniture and such. How are we living in the kitchens anymore? So where do you guys see where we are today? And most importantly, whatever investment people make in their home right now, what can they do to get the most money out of their home in the future, because things are changing. So it's a little bit psychology, where is humankind headed, not just technology, but how we live. Where do you guys look at it, see it from the artistic standpoint?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question, is where the home's heading and how does the lifestyle change and how is that going to project. So it's been like talked so much, kitchens are the heart of the home. And we see that so much more and more, that like any gathering, and you probably can, every single person who has a party can 100% relate to that, is if the design is not catered to those gatherings, which we love to do, and as humans we're always going to be drawn to that. It's basically comes down to, hey, how is the circulation, how is the life pattern created inside that home? So if you are throwing that Thanksgiving party or that Christmas party or that whatever holiday party, where are all the people going to gather? And that's going to be the biggest thing, especially with like the technology and people being so isolated. Then when people come together, it seems like it's more and more that we need that closeness. And gathering has always been around in the old days, right? It's been campfires and food. So that's humans. We're not going away anywhere from that. So if you were to invest and remodel a home, the biggest thing is like, hey, what can I do to actually open it up in catering? And we have all these formal living room, and you talk to these clients, like, how often do you use it? It's like, oh, once a year. So we encourage that, and I think Robert can relate to that as well, is like, hey, we need to create these kitchens that at least are open, and if they have a table, can we see 12 people? Can we really make that as a center of the home? And then all of the other areas become secondary. And that's probably the biggest thing that you do when you design a home from ground up, if it's a new construction, right?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, because that primitive sense of being at a campfire and cooking, how is that created? And being in Seattle, where we create new ideas of cuisine that New Yorkers like to steal and say it's theirs. It's Seattle. We're the ground root. We have such synergy here that no other city can create. So if we can bring that into our home, especially through mid-century abilities, and then take it to where they wish they could have been, that's what we do. Having a great kitchen, great flow. Where are you going to prep? It's important when myself, I love food and I love eating it. All the different types of nationalities that are here in Seattle, this melting pot that we live in. So when we create a gathering, do we have that table for monumental moments with our family where we can record history in a new way? I think that's very important in what we create. So if we can give that to them, where, hey, let's go to, quote, quote, client's home, because they have the gathering space. They have the family room, the dining room, the kitchen, and the family's creating this new, what do you call it?
A lifestyle or design. And something you said about history, right? And something you said about kitchens and melting pots and having different cultures, that's something else. If you were to invest and you want to say, hey, down the road I want to be accessible to a lot of clients, what should I do? If you have square footage for that, having 2 kitchens is a big thing. So you have one showcase kitchen where kind of like you're showing off and it looks fantastic, and then you have a prep kitchen, and we see that in a lot of cultures that they're coming and they're looking for that, or even building a home, having those elements. So thinking through design, hiring a professional that can really walk you through, that will be a huge payoff down the road. So you are just going to avoid, or the clients are going to avoid the mistakes. That's like, hey, I can do it myself from watching HGTV. Not necessarily. There's a lot of things and psychological elements that go into every single design, and to get it right, to have it fantastic, to project into the future. Talk to a professional, and they'll guide you in the right directions, and then your every single penny you invest, either it's now or in the future, will really pay off.
And that's how you get true timelessness.
Mhm.
Is through a professional like Ariana, who can tell you or prescribe what the direction is. Because you could leave it to a contractor and save, say, a couple of dimes or dollars. And the end result, is that really what you want to achieve? Education, or say that primitive understanding, right?
And Mariana,
Yeah.
you've been in
Yeah.
this industry so long, so
Yeah.
you can probably speak for that as well.
Yes, and that's what I want to chime in actually, that most people already heard me saying that everything is psychology. It's like 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. So when it comes to psychology, understand how we are living. And technology changes part of our behavior. So like right now, it is so easy to just go out and eat, or grab your phone and then you just order food and people are at your doorstep in 20 minutes and you don't have to worry about it. So to some extent, it separates us by not engaging in the joy of preparing food. But at the same time, I think we will go back to it. And there are so many people, it's more important that we will have to have that decent kitchen space. And it's always a question right now, because how technology is changing our life, or how busy we are all becoming, that food is like fuel and people just, grab something as nutritious and go. However, it is an elevated life, and the pleasure of life, having people there and sharing experiences. And throughout the times, kitchen and dining rooms where these things are happening. So, but also shifting a little bit, because I just looked at a 1960s home where the lady was in the kitchen, so the kitchen was just set up for one person to move around to create the food and put it in front of the husband and the children, right? So we are looking to open that up, because now it's a social event and it's an engaging thing. So it's an interesting thing, that how do we change our technology with all the machines that we put into a kitchen? Right.
So that is a huge thing too. So that's probably one of the important things that whenever we work with a client is ask, like, hey, how many people are gonna cook in the kitchen, or you're currently preparing food, and also like your age of your kids. So as kids get older and you want to have them participate, I mean, they kind of tend to having things lined up that work. So like when we design something, it's like your coffee maker and so forth, or dispenser for beverages is kind of further away, so it doesn't interfere with someone that's using the oven. So there's a perfect rotation, perfect space planning, and that's taken into account. And like who's shopping, who's doing the dishes, is there's assignments. So every single thing is tailored, but again, having that integration, and that becomes a part of lifestyle. And that's what we're like. It seems like you said, hey, it's coming back more, and yes, it will be, because if you see like where's the pleasure, like where do like a lot of decision making happen, it's over a drink, over dinner. So things are not, we're humans. No matter how much technology we have, we're still going to have the drive and that earning to gather, to be together, and that builds memory. That's part of being alive. It's and that's what we're creating too with Robert. Partnering together is not only bringing, hey, you have to have this beautiful home. It's also creating a lifestyle. It's all about creating who you are and how you want to live. And we talk a lot about the kitchen, but the same thing applies to bathrooms. That when you wake up, what do you surround yourself with? How do you feel? Your bedroom. I mean, every single aspect of the home is super important in creating who you are as an individual.
And it's not just about us, because what we have to remember, that your home is also a version of your investment and assets. So many people who don't buy with cash, so many people who have to have a mortgage, which is the vast majority of people. You have to remember that when you're making these design decisions, you also have to be able to sell this property at some point. So we kind of know what we want, but even then, there is always limitations to our thinking, because we don't know what we don't know. And I'm a huge believer of investing in experts, and that's why I have everybody on board, including these two, to advise me, to advise my clients, because anything about real estate, anything about a home, is the combination of two largest things: your emotional and financial investment. None of these things are taken lightly. So if we can invest a little bit of money to ask for expert advice to create a better end result that also like they're going to ask you the question that you don't think of ask for yourself. And then with me in Apaya, I'm going to ask the investment question of how is this going to look later and how is this going to fit into your future financial plans. I think we are just in general can expect better outcome for everything. And one of the outcomes I'm looking at is now how are we shifting when it comes to, for example, transportation? Because when it comes to real estate, we so much talk about location, 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 but that is partially true. Because it's also depending on where your future is going to be written, because your location, as far as you know, is right now. Where are you going to be 5 to 10 years from now, and how are these things fit into your overall future? One of the questions we have is transportation. Where are we heading with self-driving cars? What's the purpose of a garage these days? How are we going to use it? So what do you guys think? Where are we headed?
Gosh, just forget about garages. Let's get a helicopter now.
Robert,
right?
That's a
Do
great
talk
idea.
about garages and your input on that.
Yeah, I love cars, so I'm a fan for multiple parking spots. 4 is probably good. Maybe 6 would be better.
Oh, right.
So, and you talk about investments and you talk about lifestyle. One of the best investments during the downturn was automobiles. And most people would say, oh, don't invest in automobiles, da-da-da-da-da. But they're sculpture, they're functional, and they're becoming rare. And as we realize that we have battery power capability and different types of propulsion, then the idea of the gas motor becomes even more like a Monet or a Mona Lisa, right? So some of these cars are very undervalued because of all the stuff that has been put into them. And the reason why I have this love and passion for it is it's very similar to construction and design and what we do, lifestyle, right? How do you create that function? So garages in the future, what is that? It's a dual functional space. So I've actually helped several different clients who can then use their garage as a party space.
Okay.
Now you got a great almost flow that you would have as your kitchen, dining room, living room.
Just put in the glass wall, right?
Yeah.
And show off your car if not.
So when you
Do
design
a party.
so when you design it right now that when you pull into the car and then you go into the kitchen or whatever you put in groceries down them. So you take in consideration the flow. If this space becomes like a living room or family room or a movie room or something, how will it fit into everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it could be a movie room.
Okay.
Like what if you have 6
It's
cars?
already dark.
You can fit your friends in the car, right? And have this big movie screen, right?
Right.
Futuristic thoughts, right?
Bring
That's
back
great.
the drive-in movie theater at your home. That's
in
possible,
your garage,
right? Why have a movie room that's so big and put these seats in there? It's very it takes up a lot of space, so you can have dual function, right? That's the idea. Lifestyle, hey, sit in my Porsche and watch this great movie.
But that's
also,
and that's awesome. I love that. And it all comes again to, hey, how do we want to use this space? What are we projecting for our lives? Especially if it's a big investment that we're going to stay in this home until we age. So all of those questions are super important. What do you like? Are you passionate? Do you have passion for cars? If you do, hey, let's give you a 6-car garage so you can put on that classic that you're going to love and enjoy. Or if it's changing, growing families, how is that going to be adopted? Can that be converted? And I've seen some of Robert's plans that he's like, this is a garage, but possible addition or possible movie theater that because it's connected, and he's putting in a garage, a deep garage, so then half of it can be sliced and taken into a square footage, and half of it can be left for normal garages. So those are awesome plans and some, just another thing to think about.
Okay, fantastic.
Let's go. I don't want to add on to that.
Okay, go for it.
So flying cars, right? Future.
Or self-driving cars.
Self-driving.
That's going to be faster than the flying.
Well,
because I'm working with FAA on multiple projects, so it's going to be a bit.
So that's really interesting that you have that understanding too, right?
I do.
Right now, if you have an airport in your city, you can't eliminate it.
No.
The FAA will not let you eliminate that. So Bellevue had an airport, Issaquah had an airport. What other cities did too, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a hardcore Renton person. and look at Painfield, right? And what they're doing.
Commercial.
Yeah, and it's revolutionary. They don't take FAA funds, so they actually can create a new, say, lifestyle approach.
Yep.
more personal feel. How's SeaTac gonna feel about that? Thing is Renton is taking their own approach to this too. And if we do have flying cars, you know, I mean, what airport are you gonna fly out of? Is that how it's gonna work? I think so, right?
There's just there are so many questions, and the biggest challenge about designing anything today is like being like Jules Verne is like, oh my God, what's the vision that will be applicable 50 years from now? Because whatever we do, it's going to be lasting, because now we are using better construction materials that are going to last longer. So we have to imagine who we're going to be 50 years from now. However,
that's a great vision.
Right. However, if we are here today, one of the easiest things that we can change in a space and the feel is usually with colors. Like, you know, I'm just thinking that I saw 50 Shades of Beige when I was looking at, you know, like 60 and 70 these, homes and such. And right now we are just going into like
grays.
the
No,
gray,
no, we're the grays.
the
No, we're the
grays
grays.
and the whites. Like, how much wider can we get when it comes to kitchen cabinets and the walls and stuff?
Yeah.
So it's a little too sterile. I always looking for that, you know, one miracle thing that is, you know, because like even with colors, it's psychology. How you go into a space, how you use it, how you enjoy yourself. Do we have any color family that we could apply that will be welcoming to everybody? And it's like a Chanel suit that's like, you know, like not going out of style and goes with so many things. Am I asking too much of you?
I think it's an awesome question, because like I think color, I know color is a small thing that you change, but it affects so much things. I mean, it can take something that looks dated and tired, you put in the right color, and it's like, oh, it's fresh and exciting, and you bring back the energy. So something you mentioned about, you know, Chanel is like, hey, this suit. You know, with Chanel, she did have a limited color, so it was, you know, a lot of black, or you know, it was just a specific color that made it timeless. And we do have some timeless colors too, even in the beige family, in the gray family, in the red family. There's some kind of colors that will always be the dominant colors. But what would happen with trends in general, and say, hey, can I make something timeless? Well, if a lot of colors and a lot of those things we get from fashion. So I follow fashion, and that actually dictates what's going to happen in our interiors couple years. I mean, it takes some time, but that's a huge indication, as well as what's happening in Europe, in Asia. That's really pushing the market. So colors do evolve, but the biggest, as I said, indication would be fashion. And a lot of times we see pastels, and then they kind of get back into vibrant and these rich colors, and then they kind of die off again into something that's more relaxing. So we'll always have these waves of things. Just with pants, you have something wide, and then you get skinny, and just, but there's always, you know, you have to repaint anyway. So that's easy fix in a way. But getting the right color, especially with like Northwest, because of our grays and rains and clouds and so much greens, that getting the color right is important. That's all I can say. And lighting too.
And
lighting
yeah.
is a big thing. So
Especially with the darkness outside.
Oh, yeah,
Whatever
yes.
you can do inside.
yes,
Little
chandeliers.
designs.
I love chandeliers. Throwing something, it changes the entire way the home feels.
Okay.
Do you have a input on color, or that's my specialty?
Yeah, that's your specialty. I'll leave that up to you. You know, because you've helped me find the right colors and really made a big difference.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference. Yeah, I would like to think that I'm good at it, but
Hire Robert for the construction
yeah,
part.
I like shapes and volumes, right?
And textures, different textures make a change.
And different
Textures,
textures.
that's
Finishes, yeah.
But that's where we collaborate, right? Because
Yeah.
now I have a soundboard. I can say, "Hey, Ariana, what do you think?"
And
This
Ariana
material.
say, hey, let me talk to them.
Yeah, and then she'll tell me the truth, and that's when you get a good project, right? Because if it's just me and I'm all about myself, then it's not about you, right? Or you know, the client, right? So I think,
Exactly.
the thing I think that we do as a team, right? We, you know, as in real
Open
estate,
each other.
Yeah.
Open each other, because like we don't know what we don't know. This is all we know, and then we need all these different influences to ask the question to give us a wider range of options, and that's where we are. I would like to close with just a quick question, which might not be that quick. You know, with transition from certain lifestyles and certain times, it always takes us a little bit. What is sometimes really hard to anticipate is what are the bigger changes. So if you guys think how we live today, and based on your expertise on where we are headed, what do you think is going to be the biggest surprise in each field when it comes to like architectural design or when it comes to interior design? Where do you think we are headed that's going to change things in how we live or be the biggest shock for people?
Well, I think to answer that question, like even now with like baby boomers, right, that's been a big change, right, that people weren't really anticipating. It's like, hey, now we want to retire and want to live at home. No one, even like the nursing homes or the aging in facilities, they're really creating that home feel, because people like, hey, I've been a doctor, I've been practicing whatever law, and I don't want to be locked up somewhere, right? I still want to contribute to society, and I think that's a huge change that we see, that every single person wants to contribute, even like in any jobs. Like, what am I actually doing? It's not only about money. It's not only about going to work and coming back and with that field that we had before, but it's like, what am I doing? So we see people wanting to stay longer inside their homes, and so that's probably one of the things that should be planned out. Is how are the bathrooms planned? Where are the bedrooms placed? Am I gonna, if this is a multi-level home, is there gonna be an elevator there, or is there gonna be a secondary bedroom with its own bathroom, so like almost like a master suite? So there's thinking advance about how the transition is gonna happen, or which Robert has been doing a lot in things, is adding that unit, right, for in the basement.
ADU or
so why don't you talk about those two, because that is a huge
That's
investment.
a really good point, because aging is key, and as we age, as I'm aging, I'm starting to realize the importance of that. And
That's good for you, because we aren't.
I don't know what you're talking about
that's
there.
great. I didn't want to admit to it, but it's the truth. And I'm when we talk about clients, what do they want when they're looking at a home? What are they looking for? So when we collaborate with your skills of understanding how real estate sells, we can actually create a better project. So I've seen multiple clients who want their master suite on the main floor because they're worried about aging, right? Their knees, and how they're going to walk around. Do we need a wheelchair, crawler, whatever it is that is going to make your house functional? How can we make it easier? So having multiple master suites is a thing that we believe in. ADU units down below, so you can actually have residual income. That way you can pay off your mortgage potentially by having someone housed in your home, by contributing, giving back to society. As we witnessed, say, San Francisco, people are renting out their garages or renting out a parking spot for their van or their mobile home or whatever. Here in Seattle, we have a greater opportunity to give affordable housing in a greater way by having internal ADUs, additional dwelling units in the basement, or having a detached ADU. So then you could potentially have 2 rental units. Here in Seattle, probably average rent is $2,000 a month. If you had 2 of those, then how much is your mortgage? You can actually pay off your and create your home into a different direction, or another way to say create a living is say Airbnb, or even having a senior care facility in your home.
Right.
So there's so many different multiple ways of making your residential into an investment, into an asset. Telling Robert Kiyosaki that maybe he's wrong in his approach, right? That your home is not your asset. Well, these are different ways that we can make our home an asset.
Sure. Well, I would like to thank you both of you for being here, guys.
This
is just the beginning, because the amount of information these two can share is timeless. But unfortunately, our time is up for this section. But stay tuned, because there will be more questions and answers that these guys can answer, and we're also going to go out to some of their job sites to take a look at what are they doing and how can we stay relevant when it comes to your largest emotional and financial investment of your life. This is Mariana, and I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.